So there were rumors in high school that I was too dorky to ever have a boyfriend. As an example of the kind of person I was, at the end of my freshman year, I got a unicycle, and my family's Egyptian, so every summer we would go to Egypt, and I was really nervous that I would forget or like lose all my unicycling progress. So I packed it in my suitcase, and that summer I went. There's a village there, and it was a very small community. It's like 100 people. So the day I got there, I found myself like a tiny dark corner with like under a street light, and I was practicing my unicycle, and that's when I met him. He was just walking by and he's like, "Can you really ride that thing?" I ended up teaching him how to unicycle, bearing in mind that this guy is like so much older than me, because I was 15 at the time and he was 22. And it wasn't really romantic in that sense, but I never had anyone in my life ask me like, well, what do you think about love and what do you think about life? I thought he was like the only person that understood me, and he was always saying things like, "You're the most mature 15-year-old I've ever met." So the end of the summer came, and he said it was probably best that we didn't text each other or call each other, add each other on Facebook. He thought it would just take away from like the authenticity of our relationship or whatever. So I went back to high school, and I was really miserable. I had this agenda in high school, and I would just check off like every single day, days until I would see him again. The day finally came when I flew to Egypt, and I remember the day before we were gonna drive to the village, my grandma had like this machine where she was testing her heart rate, and my heart was racing, and she put the thing on me and she's like, "Oh my God, you are going to die. Like, are you okay?" That summer, he gave me my first kiss, which was a huge deal to me because I was like waiting for the right person and all this stuff. I was always kind of intimidated by him because we would both fight a lot, and I would always really try and prove to him that maybe I was more mature than I actually was. This was all in Egypt. It was completely inappropriate for me to be hanging out alone with this person. A rumor started that someone had seen me walk out of his house like in the morning. That started a really big problem with my family because my aunts and uncles and cousins started seeing me in a different way and started telling my mom things behind my back. So then I started having to lie to her. It should also be said that I was 15 and I still wanted to wait. And then I had to go back to high school. He would have this belief that like, if you're in high school, like your time doesn't matter. Like you should be making time to Skype me. So every day I would wake up at 4 in the morning and we would Skype for hours and hours. And then I would get to school at like 8 a.m. and just be completely spent. Just my whole world was wrapped up in keeping this long distance relationship going. Then it was New Year's, and I posted some pictures on Facebook, and he called me on New Year's Eve, and he was like, "I noticed a picture of your dad," and he was like holding a drink in the Bahamas. Like, "Does your family drink?" And I was like, "No, like that was just like a one-time thing." And I remember getting just so flushed and so embarrassed. Basically what he said to me was he was getting older and he was looking for someone to marry, and he saw that person in me, but the problem was he wouldn't want my kids to be, or our kids to be, anything like me because I didn't have the same rigid Muslim belief system that he did. So he basically said to me, like, "I promise that I'm happy to keep this relationship going if you promise to maybe be a better Muslim or like read the Quran every day. At least let me know that there's a chance that you won't stay the same person that you are." This is also the same conversation where he told me that he loved me for the first time. But I was just facing this realization that like everything that I am and everything that I have become, all these things that I thought that I was happy about and proud of was just not enough. I told him no, like I can't promise that I'm gonna be a better person or whatever, it's just not gonna work out. So he's like, "Well, then it's over, Happy New Year's," and he broke up with me. That following year, I just like struggled to get out of bed, and I cried like all the time, and I couldn't tell my parents what was going on, and I started feeling insecure for the first time because I never felt insecure. Like I loved myself. My friends always made me feel good, and he always made me feel good until he didn't. But as I got older, I'm starting to realize like for someone to be older than I am now, seeking and pursuing a girl who's 15 years old, there's something wrong with you. Like you shouldn't be doing that. You should be letting girls grow up and staying the hell away from them. So my family goes back to that place every year. I haven't really gone so much since the revolution. I met up with him again, and he actually hadn't dated anyone or kissed anyone since me like 3 years before. He started realizing like, wow, it was really messed up. I don't think I'm ever going to ask a girl to change for me like that. So thank you, like you really changed my life, which really pissed me off, but I'm like, okay, like I'm glad. I'm just happy that you'll never treat someone the way that you treated me.